Hello guys, welcome to our YouTube channel and today we are going to see the topic friction of class 8. So it is chapter 12. So let's start. So what is friction? So friction is the force of friction is the force which opposes the motion of an object over a surface. The force of friction acts between the object and the surface. Means the force of friction stops any moving object or slows down its speed or changes state of motion. We see some examples that are a ball rolling on a ground stops or slows down due to force of friction between the ball and the ground. So when we kick a ball, after some time it stops because friction is applied from the opposite direction of the ball. So if we stop pedaling a bicycle, it gradually stops or slows down because force of friction continuously acts from the other side. That's why when we don't apply force, it stops. So let's move to next. That is factors affecting friction. Friction depends upon two factors that are nature of the surface in contact and how hard the surface is pressed together. So nature of the surface have two. There is the smoothness of the surface and the roughness. So friction is less on a smooth surface and friction is more on a rough surface. So here in this diagram you can see that when a tire rolls on a when we walk on a rough surface there is more friction, so there are less chances to fall down, and when we walk on a smooth surface there is less friction and there are more chances to fall down. So let's move to next. Now this diagram shows if there is very less load in a container, so the pressure applied on the surface of the container and the surface will be less, so we have to apply less force on smooth surface, and on rough surface we have to apply more force because there are irregularities, and then high friction will be applied from other side. So what are the causes of friction? So friction is caused due to the interlocking of irregularities between the two surfaces in contact. Friction is caused because of the interlocking patterns that are present in the surface of the object and the ground. So, smooth surfaces have minute irregularities between the two surfaces. So, we think that smooth surfaces don't have irregularities, but they have. They have very less irregularities, small, small, tiny, tiny. Rough surfaces have larger irregularities between the two surfaces. So, force of friction is more if the surfaces are rough, and rough surfaces we can only see that they have larger irregularities. So this diagram shows that the interlocking of the object and the surface. So applied force is from the left side to right side and friction opposes from right side to left side, and these interlock. That's why we have to apply more force to push it. Next, types of friction. So there are three types of friction: static, rolling, and sliding friction. First we'll study static friction, that is force of friction that acts between object in contact but not sliding. Means if any object is stable and when we try to push it but it doesn't move from its rest position, that is static friction. Like we try to push a wall but it doesn't move. So like in this diagram it is shown there is a heavy box but the person is trying to move it and it is not moving. So static friction is one more example. When we try to push a sofa, but it doesn't move, that is also static friction. Like one pushing force. Now second is sliding friction. That is force of friction that acts between objects in contact and sliding or moving with respect to each other. This is simple that anything sliding is known as sliding friction. Any object sliding is known as sliding friction. Example: sliding on a slide, pushing an object across a surface, rubbing one's hands together, a car sliding on ice, opening a window. Almost any motion where there is contact between an object and a surface is sliding friction. So these are examples. As I told you sliding from a slide and sliding on ice. Now, third comes the rolling friction. Rolling friction takes place when an object rolls on a surface. Simple definition is the rolling of any object on a surface is known as rolling friction. Example, a basketball rolled on the court will eventually come to an halt because of rolling friction. If you haven't subscribed our channel, please subscribe it. Next, some examples like of rolling friction. Skates also, when we ride skates, the wheels of the skates roll. And when we make a ball of dough into chapati, then also then comes friction is necessary. How friction is necessary? Let's see some examples that are it helps us to walk, it stops a moving object, it helps to stop a vehicle, it helps in grinding, it helps in construction purposes, helps us to write, it helps matchstick ignition possible. Means the last examples mean that it helps to burn a matchstick also. Let's move to the next. That friction a necessary evil. How friction is evil? So it causes most machines require repair and maintenance because of frictional force. Means while when friction force act on any machines or object, it need to repair. It need to be repaired like we do service of our cars and bikes. The frictional force also causes most of the injuries. If an object started moving, it would never stop if there were no friction. If there would be no friction, then we will only continuously move and move. We will never stop. If there is no friction between the tires of the automobiles and the roads, they could not be started or stopped or turned to change the direction of motion. So without friction, we can't change our direction while driving vehicles, change our direction or motion or speed. So without friction, no building could be constructed. Without friction, we couldn't construct our homes, towns, houses, and buildings, and many more. Soles of shoes wear out due to friction. So sometimes you're seeing your shoes tear out. The soles of the shoes tear out. Why? Because of friction only. Types of bicycles, tires of bicycles and automobiles wear out due to friction. So tires of bicycles and machines also wear out due to friction only. Steps of staircases and foot over bridges in railway stations wear out due to friction. Knives and razors lose their sharp edges due to friction, that you know. So next is increasing friction. So how can we increase friction? Let's see. Friction can be increased by increasing the roughness of the surface in contact. So friction can be increased by increasing roughness of the surface that is in contact. The soles of shoes are grooved to have a better grip on the floor. The third is the tires of vehicles are treated to increase the grip on road. Next, the brake pads of vehicles are rough to stop moving vehicles when the brakes are applied. Fourth, kabaddi players rub their hands with soil for a better grip for their opponents. That you know. Next, now you can see tires are designed like this because to increase friction so that we will sleep less. So next is reducing friction. Friction can be reduced using lubricants in machine. Graphite powder, oil, grease are used as lubricants for reducing friction. Using rollers or wheels, using ball bearings. Like this is lubricant oil like structure and ball and these are ball bearings. These small. So next is we sprinkle powder on a carom board to reduce friction so that it can slip more and we can score a goal. That's why oil or grease is applied between moving parts of machines to reduce friction. Rollers are used in luggage bags to reduce friction. So when if there were no rollers in the luggage bags, then how would we keep it in our hand? So it is very necessary. Wheels are used in vehicles to reduce friction. Ball bearings are used in ceiling fans, bicycles, and vehicles to reduce friction. So next is or fluid friction that is present in the air. So fluid friction is the force of friction exerted by liquids or gases on objects moving through them. As I told, it is present in air, so it is liquids and gases. And it is also known as drag friction. We can say drag friction. And birds and aeroplanes have streamlined special bodies so that they can overcome this fluid friction. The factors of fluid friction depends upon the speed of the object, the shape of the object, the nature of the fluid, means the nature of the gas or liquid. So next is examples are birds flying in air have streamlined body to reduce fluid friction. Fishes living in water have streamlined body to reduce fluid friction. You would have heard that fish have streamlined body, birds have streamlined body, aeroplanes also have streamlined body. Like here it is written, aeroplanes and spacecrafts have streamlined body to reduce fluid friction, so that they can overcome fluid friction. That's why. Now, thank you for watching. Meet you in the next video, and please subscribe our channel and like the video and tell how the video was. Was it helpful for you? Please comment.